Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be creating a fall grungy look. Not because it's fall already, but because I'm just sick of summer and I'm ready to move on to the next season. So I'm going to be playing with a couple of newer products that I haven't really played with before, and some that I've played with a lot. It's been a minute since I just sat down and played with makeup and didn't really have like a goal or a finished look that I had in mind, so I'm just gonna dive right in. I have the tones in mind that I kind of want to use. Just a lot of like burnt oranges and browns, so we're just gonna jump right into it. I always start off with eye makeup just because I never know if there's gonna be fallout and I just don't wanna have to deal with that. So I'm just gonna dive right into the eyes, and I'm going to use my Too Faced concealer just as an eye base. Alright, so now that the eyes are prepped, I'm gonna dive right into the brand new Makeup Geek Pumpkin Spice palette, which is gorgeous and just all of the tones that I live for. So I'm gonna start with the lightest shade in the palette, which is just a really light beigey taupey color. And this is gonna be my first transition shade in the crease. Is anyone else ready for fall, or is it just me? I don't know if it's still hot where all you guys are, but it's still in the 90s and the humidity is rude. So I'm pretty much done and I'm ready for sweaters and brisk mornings. I also grabbed a couple of brand new Makeup Geek shades as well. They had a couple launches the past, I believe, like month or two. And they did come out with 4 single shadows. So I'm gonna dive into a couple of them. First, I'm going to pick up, this is a shade called Apple Spice, which just has a little hint of red to it, but it's still kind of like a brownish red, almost like a light brick color. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit on my brush. This is the MAC 217, which I essentially use for almost every look I do. And this is gonna be my main crease color. I'm probably gonna go in and layer a couple colors on top, but this is kind of that burnt look that I wanna go for. And because I'm going for more of like a grungy look, I'm not shooting for perfection. I kind of want it to look very blown out. Okay, I'm loving that color. This shade dropped, I believe, the end of August. I'll post the exact date below and a link if you're interested in this collection of single shadows. But there really wasn't like this color in this palette. I'm just gonna kind of dive into the browns and a little bit of the oranges, but I needed like a brick. I'm gonna go back in with that first color that I used in the palette, just called Buffed, and just blend out the edges of those 2 colors. And I'm bringing the crease shades pretty high onto the brow bone just because I want it to look very like blown out and diffused. And another color that I'm missing from this collection of shadows in the palette is like a really good mustard yellow. So I found an older Makeup Geek shadow, and this one's called Desert Sands. And this one is very well loved. I use it a lot. It's super weird if you look at it on its own. You're just like, how is that wearable? But I love mixing it in with light brown crease colors. So I'm just gonna pop a little bit on that first fluffy brush and just kind of go right on top of the buffed shade, that lighter crease shade. And I feel like this is just gonna add like a lot more of that grungy, warm look to the eyes. All right, and I'm going to deepen up the crease even further, and I'm gonna take a smaller blending brush. This is the Morphe M514. And I'm gonna go into this warm, kind of chestnut brown color called Cocoa Bear, which that has been around for a long time. They just, I guess, repackaged it or put it in this palette. So I'm gonna focus this one on the outer half of the crease. I love Makeup Geek shadows. I just feel like they're not super sensitive. Like if you were to dive into the pan, it's not just gonna crumble away. And I think that these shadows have really good pigmentation, and you can still build them up. It's not like, you know, one little dab in the pan. It's just gonna be like an overwhelming amount of color. And I'm gonna throw in a little bit of this kind of like pale orangey color called Early Bird, and just kind of pop that on the inner half of the crease just to bring a little bit more warmth. And in the front, I'm bringing it up like almost to my brow. And what this is doing is it's basically just kind of giving the illusion that I have a lot more like eye space and like a bigger crease than I actually do. I'm gonna try putting apple spice on the majority of my lid and kind of seeing how that looks. I'm probably gonna mix in that mustard shade as well. So I'm just taking a flat packing brush, and I believe this is the 230S for MAC. It's kind of rubbed off, so hopefully that is correct. And whenever I'm packing a shade on the lid, I'm not really swiping. I'm really just like pressing it down. And then kind of once I have enough pigment down, I'll go in and just do like a light swiping motion. And that trick really decreases the amount of fallout you can get too. Like I don't think I've had really any fallout at all, which is kind of amazing. I'm gonna dive into another shadow that was from the collection before, the Pumpkin Spice palette, and the shade is called Grunge. Very fitting for the look I'm doing. And I'm gonna take a flat definer brush and just smoke this along the lash line. This is my favorite trick. Instead of doing liner, it still gives the same effect. It's just a lot faster and it's more soft. So if you're still wanting to do a liner during the day, but you don't want it to look so dark or heavy, then you can just use like a dark brown or like a charcoal shadow. And I'm gonna go in with a smaller kind of crease brush. This is the Morphe E18. Everything is rubbed off on my brushes, so. And then I'm gonna press a little bit of that grunge shadow just right on the outer edge. I'm gonna go back in with the Morphe M514, that smaller crease brush, and the chestnut color Cocoa Bear. Just go right on the edges of that grunge color. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that mustard shade. And then we're just gonna touch up that lid shade, Apple Spice. All right, I'm gonna move on to the rest of the face. And since I'm doing a darker, kind of smokier eye, I'm gonna keep the skin a little more on the lighter side. So I'm gonna go in with the Becca Backlight Priming Filter, just to add radiance underneath the foundation. So I love priming my skin with a glowy primer or a really hydrating primer, just because I think it makes the foundation sit really nicely and look a little bit lighter on the skin. And then you can kind of go in with more of a matte foundation and it doesn't look quite as matte. So I'm gonna put on the Laura Mercier Smooth Finish Flawless Foundation. I love when products are like 8 words long. And I'm just gonna put it directly on my beauty blender. I would say this foundation is more medium coverage. It's not really covering like my little acne spots and my freckles. I haven't used this one in a while and now I know why. And then I'm going to go in with the Josie Maran Vibrancy Argan Oil Concealer. I cut out a few words because I can't stand the 10-word product names. I love this concealer though because it's super hydrating, but it's still full coverage. I feel like it's really hard to find a full coverage concealer that's not matte, and I can't stand matte concealers, so it's a struggle. And I'm gonna use that same Too Faced concealer that I used as an eyeshadow base, just to kind of cover up the places that the concealer or the foundation did not. It's essentially the same exact color as my foundation. I've used this concealer as foundation some days too, and I really like it. If you have a lazy day, it's super easy to just kind of spot correct and then put powder on and bronzer and call it a day. And then I'm going to set my foundation and concealer with the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Micro Finishing Powder. This is like a little mini one. I was testing it out and I'm obsessed. It's like the finest translucent powder. It photographs well, doesn't over dry out your skin. Love it. And I just take a bigger brush, just like a little bit of it, and just kind of lightly set the foundation. And because I'm pretty fair right now, I'm gonna go into the Benefit Hoola Lite, which honestly looks like nothing. It almost looks like a face powder in the pan. And when I first got it, I was like, this is gonna be way too light, so I'm gonna show up. And surprisingly, it shows up. If you're fair like I am, I think it's a really good bronzer. So I like using it to kind of like contour a little bit first. Like you can already see a little bit of a difference. And then if I need to go in and add a little bit more warmth, I'll just kind of focus that on the outer edges. So for like a light natural look, that bronzer would be really pretty on its own. And I'm just gonna pick up a clean MAC 224 and use that for contouring my nose a little bit. Especially since it's such a light bronzer. I really like using it to like contour the nose and stuff, because it's not as dramatic. Moving on to blush, I'm gonna use the Sigma Aura Powder in Cor de Rosa, because I feel like it's a really pretty neutral color. It's got a little bit of undertones of peach and pink, which I think will go really well with this look. And I'm not gonna do too much blush because I want it to be more of like a bronzy, grungy look. And just to deepen up the bronzer a little bit just along the edges, I'm gonna use another Aura powder from Sigma. This one's called In the Saddle, which is really pretty. Kind of reminds me of NARS Laguna bronzer a little bit. And I'm just gonna use a smaller angled contour brush and just kind of tap a little bit like right along the edges of my face. And then for highlight, I'm going to go in with the Lancome Dual Finish Highlighter. Very well loved by me. This one's in the shade Shimmering Buff. It's like a really nice pale gold. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit more on my Beauty Blender, just so that it melts into the skin, doesn't look too powdery. And the Beauty Blender's already damp, so it just kind of gives it a little bit more of like a wet, like dewier finish, which I really like. It's like the Becca highlighters, you can use them wet and they look so cool. Now I'm gonna move on to the lower lash line, and I'm going to start with the Grunge shade. And I picked that up on the flat definer brush again, just like I did on the top. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit of Apple Spice on the same brush that I used for the lid. And because I'm going for more of a grungy look, I really want to bring the lower lash line pretty far down. And I'm going to smoke out those two colors with that mustard yellow shade, Desert Sands. And I'm just connecting it to the smoke in the crease from the top. Go back in one more time with Apple Spice. And then a little bit more of Grunge on a pencil brush. I'm just gonna go in with my MAC Extended Play Mascara just for the lower lashes, because this wand is super skinny and it's just really easy to use for the bottom lashes. And I still think I want it to be a little bit smokier, so I'm gonna add a little bit of eyeliner just to the waterline. I'm gonna do the same thing with the top. I feel like when you're doing a smoky look, it just looks weird if you see the skin around your eyeball. I feel like it needs to kind of blend in with the eyeshadow. All right, and then for my top lashes, I'm gonna go in with one of the best mascaras I think ever created. This is the Milk Kush Mascara. It's unbelievable. And I just love how fluffy the wand is. It just adds so much volume. All right, and just to finish off the eye look, I'm gonna throw on my favorite lashes. These are the Koko lashes in style Chloe. I just think they're a perfect combination of wispy and like volumizing. They're just so pretty. So I'm gonna go pop these on off camera and I'll be right back. And then moving on to lips, I'm going to mix two different Time Los Angeles liquid lipsticks. These two shades right here, kind of that same color family, called Foliage and Macchiato. So I'm gonna use the darker liquid lipstick to kind of like contour the lips, and then the lighter one more in the center. All right, I'm gonna go in and set the skin. I'm gonna use 2 different sprays. I'm gonna start with the Morphe setting spray. And then I always like going in, not always, but most of the time, with the Sephora Perfection Nude Mist. And I just kind of like focusing that like where I highlighted. And it gives me more of like a dewier glow because my skin is pretty dry. And then I can still use like matte foundations, powders, and still have that kind of luminous finish. All right, I'm really happy with how this look turned out. I'm gonna definitely be creating a lot more kind of fall wintry looks pretty soon because I feel like I've done a lot of bright tutorials and looks on my Instagram. So if you guys have any requests for specific palettes or any looks that you'd want me to do, you can comment below or you can DM me on Instagram. My handle's CHELSREYMUA. Super excited for Halloween. There's a lot of fun things I've been planning and I have a lot of fun surprises for you guys. All right, before you guys click out of this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and turn on post notifications so you know when I post a new video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.